Last season, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers woke up feeling dangerous when it came to fantasy. But we are not going to start at QB this time around. We have Mark Watson of Fats Lads in Shoulder Pads, who has demanded to speak all things Bucky Irving to begin. So, Mark, Bucky Irving, the season from nowhere, where did that come from?
Those of us in the know, the true fantasy football experts such as myself that didn't just take a random punt and hope it paid off, picked Bucky Irving up in every league they possibly could. Yes, I did. Won many of those leagues. Yes, I did. This guy won new leagues last year. He will win new leagues this year. Little bit biased because I am a Bucs fan. I am a bit of an Oregon Ducks fan as well. So I was always going to fall in love with this guy, Bucky the Duck. But guy, he was fantastic, man. Every week, he went from will he push White out? He might push White out as the starting role to becoming just an out and out starter. Give him the ball and watch the man work. He's fantastic. His production in fantasy is brilliant. To actually watch him play, especially for the team he supports, has just been excellent last season. I don't see any reason it will slow down. I think the only downside, if there is one to him, is if you happen to have Rachaad White in your team, because I think he's going to just fully overtake. Rachaad White will still get the pass catching, probably over Bucky, but he's your workhorse for this season, I think, same as he was last year. And anyone that picked him up in the drafts before last season, take yourselves a victory lap around your house, your street, your neighborhood, pat yourselves on the back because you picked yourselves a winner, and pick him again this year.
The numbers on the screen don't really do it justice either. So RB13 on the season after being drafted ADP, running back 58. That is brilliant in itself. But looking at the end of the season, so second half of the season, he was the RB7 and averaged 17.9 points for fantasy. Season overall, 75 plus carries. Of all players in that bracket, he was the fifth when it came to yards per carry with 5.42. Just over 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 47 receptions for a rookie season is great. And we very, very rarely see someone have a solid rookie season at running back and then not grow further in year two. We will not talk about James Robinson. We know there is an exception to every single rule, but I agree with you. I think that is definitely a player that we should be targeting this year. I've got him ranked as RB9 for me next season. Some of that is going to be Rachaad White will still get some work in there. ADP is currently going RB8, mid-round 2. Yeah, I think at that point, if you're taking him as your running back 1, if you're double tapping on running back in the middle of the round, you're absolutely laughing at that stage as well. I couldn't agree with you more on that one, Mark. I think he's an excellent pickup again this year. And my one thing is, are people going to overinflate him as we get further into draft season based on last year? At the minute, I think he's going perfectly where I'm happy with him at cost.
I'm taking him in the first round of every draft I'm in.
Yeah. Well, there we go then. So, some people will.
Yeah. Whoever's in my league for your fantasy league, expect me to take him straight away as soon as I can. I think I've took him as early as 5th. Again, the Bucs bias coming through. But the theory is it's his size that gives him the advantage, because he's such a short, stout kind of player. He threw the line before you realise he's got the ball. That's what they're saying. He kind of hides behind that O-line, and before you know it, he's broke through. And as you say, that 14.4 points per game, that is taken into consideration the early part of the season where he was still second fiddle to Rachaad White as he took over. If you look at his points per game after that, they just fly. They go through the roof. And his second half of the season was fantastic. If he stays fit, he is going to be top 5 running back next year.
Let's move on to Rachaad White, because every time the fantasy gods give us something, they have to take something away. And Rachaad White didn't have a bad season. He just didn't have the season that people were drafting him running back 13 ADP wise for. He was RB4 in 2023. Follow that up as being RB22. 130 fewer touches, 13 fewer targets. But his yards per carry did go up from 3.6 to 4.3. And so did his receiving touchdowns. So he had 6 last year as well. He is still an entity. He really, really is. And I think that now he's settled, kind of lower down our expectations, it's probably unfair. I do think, though, his current ADP is far too low for me. Currently going off the board as RB41. We know Bucky's going to continue to get more work, but I see Rachaad White as a reasonably solid flex play. And we're around RB41, you're thinking that's more your bench sort of player. Only 3 top 12 finishes and 7 top 24 finishes that's what really hurts you, is we're not getting that consistency at the top end. But say we're not expecting that this year. He just feels like he could be a really valuable flex play that he's not going to win you leagues, but I think he could return fair value. Am I being too optimistic because I drafted him everywhere last year and I want some redemption?
He's kind of the ghost of Bucky Irving's future, potentially, because the reason everyone drafted him early last year was because he had a fantastic year the year before that. So there could be that trap fall for Bucky this season as well. But I think with Rachaad White, as you say, he's not going to win you the league, but he's also not going to lose you the league. And you will pick him up for a bargain. Wherever you're going to pick him up, because Bucky's now got this reputation behind him, you're going to get him for a bargain. RB41 is an insult. He's better than that, just from pass catching alone and yards after the catch. You will get him for a bargain. He will get you, if you need that cheeky 10 points that week, he will get them for you. You can put him in your team, in your starting lineup, pretty confident he's not going to get you single figures. He's probably going to get double figures. He may even go off and get you 30. You don't know, but he definitely won't be a flop. You can at least trust him, say, you know what, he's my 4th in the pecking order, but I've got a bye week. I've got an injury. At least I have got Rachaad, and it's not desperation putting him in. As I say, that even that, I'm insulting him by even suggesting he might be a desperation. He's not. Wherever I think you actually find it with all the Bucs players, other than Bucky Irving, you're going to get a bargain if you go with Bucs players, because not to jump the gun, but Mike Evans is going lower than he's ever done before. Godwin's going lower than ever. Mayfield, people just have to disrespect the name because that's just what you do. It's cool to disrespect Baker Mayfield. Rachaad White is a prime example of a Buck bargain. If he's still there around the RB41 zone, pick him up quick. Someone else will, and they'll get that 10 points that beats you that week.
No, I agree. So going around 11, 12, I'm more than happy to be taking him at that point. We are going to move on to play. You just mentioned, though, we're going to the man who woke up feeling dangerous several years ago and then took a couple of years to actually be dangerous, and that is Baker Mayfield. I'm going to disagree with it. I think, and I'm taking a bit of a victory lap, and I'm going to come full circle because we said last year when he was going QB 21 that was egregious as far as his value went, that he was 100% going to exceed that, and I was confident he would be a top 12 QB. I did not expect him to be QB4, not in the slightest. That was exceeding expectations. I think this year, after a couple of years of people being far too low on Baker, we've swung the other way now. So he's currently being drafted on Sleeper as QB7, and I do think that's his absolute ceiling this year, based on his touchdown regression that he's like so much. We'll talk about in a minute as well. But let's look at back how his last season was. He was a top 6 QB 50% of games, tied for first with Lamar Jackson. He was QB2 in 72 QB1 to 12 in 72.2% of games. He only had one game outside the top 24. So he absolutely, the value you would have got him was more than paid that back. He's hardly dual threat, but he did average 22 rushing yards per game and got 3 rushing touchdowns. So that's not nothing. That is extra points there that you're getting from Baker. So the ADP of 7 this year just feels too risky for me. And the reason being, last year he got 41 touchdowns. His previous high was 28. So 41 will likely be the outlier. I think we have got touchdown regression coming. I think probably maybe 31, 32. But when you take those points off, that will drop him down, lasting to around the QB9 sort of points, how tightly packed it is. If you draft him, I don't think you're going to regret it. I still think he's going to give you decent return there. He'll have bigger. He's got so many weapons at disposal. The reason I'm a little bit cautious on all of the Bucs receiving options is because there are so many talented players for him to throw the ball to. For Baker, that can only mean fancy goodness, can't it?
Yeah, I must admit, I haven't done a single draft where he's gone top 10 quarterbacks.
Really?
Honestly, mate, I mean, I haven't done any since some time ago now, for about a month. So maybe that has changed, but certainly when I was drafting, he was so far down the pecking order. And I do think he carries the stigma of Baker Mayfield with him. Different name, people would draft him earlier. But as I say, it's cool to hate on Baker Mayfield for whatever reason, rightly or wrongly, very much wrongly. I also drafted him last season. Again, Bucs bias, but look, it's paid off. What you will get with Baker is if things aren't going his way, he'll put the team on his back and carry him himself if he has to. So his rushing yards, that 20 per game, he's probably one rush, because at some point he goes, you know what, stuff this, I'm doing it myself, and he'll just charge through it and go through it. You will get that with Baker. He will pull off magic. He'll throw a fair few interceptions as well, but there's enough magic in there to make him valuable. I'm very surprised to see that QB4 on the screen in front of me. As I say, I'll need to log back into Sleeper, because he certainly wasn't going for that when I was doing all my drafts, and I'm going to have to look at my own draft board now, because I'm going to have to pick him up earlier than I thought.
He's a player that Ed and I, because of his Browns days and because obviously his second career in advertising, very much enjoyed hating on him. But even we had to concede last season, he's kind of become quite likable over the last kind of season.
I love the bloke.
I think
Absolutely love the bloke.
I've really softened on him.
If you watch any of those mic'd up bits with him, he's just the best. If you watch any documentaries in any video clips, he's just the best. He did that. I think it was Peyton Manning did it, where they go in disguise. I'll have to tell you what it's called and you can put it in later. But they basically dress him up as a Bucs fan, and he goes on a stadium tour with loads of Bucs fans, and he's just the most heartwarming, funny, decent bloke. And then at the end, he pulls the disguise off, and lo and behold, it's Baker Mayfield. But just everything about the guy is lovely. He loves being in Tampa. He loves the organization. He loves the fans. He loves me personally. He just is the happiest I've ever seen a football player, I think. And that shows in his game, and is a winner at heart. He may not have got to the big dance yet, but he's got that mentality about him. And I think that does translate into fantasy, because this is a bloke who doesn't give up. So even if the Bucs are getting battered, as I say, he'll put it on his back and he'll run 15 yards on his own if he has to. I think he's I love him. I just love him.
Well, on that very wholesome note, let's have a quick shout out to ourselves as we ask you to subscribe, like, give us a share as well. We are doing our deep dive shows looking at our redraft roster of 2025 for all 32 teams. So when you're finished off the Buccaneers, go and check out one of the other 31. Speaking of players that just show how much they love playing the game, fantasy players that we can really get on board with, let's talk about Mike Evans. Obviously, 1,000 yards again is what he does. He left it right until the dying seconds of the season. He won me an accumulator bet, because I'd done one of the old last game of the season ones where it was what people were waiting for contract bonuses for accumulator. Baker's touchdown rusher might hit him a little bit this year, and that's one thing that kind of we've got to factor in there. Also, he's going to have more competition for targets. He's 32, so we've got that age creeping up, and we've got the recurring hamstring injuries, but technically, he is as good as they get. Work ethic, he is as good as they get. Chemistry with Baker, we have seen content over the last couple of seasons. He is still going to be in the mix for fantasy wide receiver. I've got him down as wide receiver 20. He's currently going off the board as wide receiver 18, early round 4. He could pay you back on that. There is definitely a world where he pays that back. I don't see a world where he massively lets you down. I think he's probably going above his floor. It seems a fair point he's going at the minute. But yeah, I feel that Mike Evans could be quite a safe pick. And if you're getting him as your wide receiver too, I think he could probably do a lot worse than other players going around him.
As a 38-year-old with a dodgy knee, I resent your question of his fitness and injury track record. 32 is not old, and neither is 38.
It's so old, so old.
It's so old. I'm so old. I'm so old. That Baker Mayfield thing is literally called Undercovers, by the way. It's on Prime. Find it. Mike Evans. So last year, I thought Mike Evans is at his days, getting on now. 32 is old, as we know. Thanks, Pestle. Appreciate that. he won't hit the 1,000 yards. Then he hit the 1,000 yards. Season before that, I thought there's a chance that this might be it. No, he hit 1,000 yards. He'll do it again because he's Mike Evans. He's a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. He is just a fantastic player. I don't buy into this PR spin nonsense of yours that there's going to be a touchdown transgression for Baker Mayfield. I think that's just more Baker disrespect from the TH Fantasy boys. But he is still going to be wide receiver 1 for us. I think it takes a lot to push him out of his key role. I think he's gonna draw the attention of some of the best defenders in the league, and he's gonna beat them as he always does. He did. I mean, just look at how he played last season. He hit 1,000 with the injury as well. Bear in mind, losing him and Godwin was all right, kicking the whatsits for our season. But he still got over the line. And yes, he was handed that last one, but he was handed that last one against the team that despises more than anyone, and he still got it. The man's just a machine. He's a football playing machine. He's born for this. Wide receiver 14. Yeah, okay, fine. I still think wherever you pick Evans up, you're probably going to get a bargain for him. Like you say, he won't win you the league, possibly, same as Rachaad White, but he certainly won't lose you the league. And he's always down for a cheeky 20+ point game. He's got it. He's got it in him, and Baker will find him, and he will get open. And these things happen. There's a reason these players have such longevity in the league, and people like Mike Evans break the records that he breaks. Yes, he's getting on, I suppose. He is injured. 32 is not old. Like, take joking aside, 32, it might be old for the NFL, maybe, but in the grand scheme of things, he's still got a lot of. I remember when I was 32 and I was still fast-ish. He's still got it. I don't see him slowing down in real life or fantasy or anything. Wide receiver 14, you're getting a bargain still. Trust him.
A player that I'm not sure if he's slowing down, but I'm a little worried about when he might get started this season, and that is Chris Godwin. So, injured week 7. He was the wide receiver 2 overall up until that point, averaging 7 receptions and 82 yards per game. I have him down as projected wide receiver 28 for this season for 2 reasons. Firstly, he's had proper ankle surgery, and we see time and time again that takes a little while to get going, especially for wide receivers. So I think we're going to see a slower start to 2024. We don't know 100% if he's going to be ready for week 1. I think that's the hope, isn't it? But we'll see as we get close to season. And then the other reason is Emeka Egbuka as some added target share competition as well. We'll talk about in a moment. But at current cost, he should be a decent value pick. So he's currently going off the board as wide receiver 34. I'm happy with that. I think you will probably have a few games early in the season where you're a little bit worried, is he going to be back? Are we going to see his points? But I think by the business end of the fantasy season, you'll be really happy if you've managed to pick him up in late round 6 where he's currently going. It's just, when I'm thinking about the Bucs in general, they've got such a solid wide receiver room, so much talent there, that's probably where your real challenge for fantasy comes, isn't it? Is who which week might get the points. But we've all seen Godwin and Evans do it together on the same field in the same game quite regularly as well.
This is a weird one because it's hard to really fathom that he was wide receiver 2 up until that injury, because it is our wide receiver 2, and it's Chris Godwin. Mike Evans the star. Chris Godwin's here as well. Actually, no, he was having the season of his life until that injury. But, and it is a big but, that was one hell of an injury. That wasn't a bit of a twinge in the Achilles. That was a season ender. Can he come back from that? I don't know. This has the absolute chance to be your sleeper Bucs bargain of the year, because I don't think people are going to touch him because of that injury. And they'll probably be right in making that decision. I think that's why he slips further and further down the board. Because do you take a chance on the bloke who had his season ended early, but also was wide receiver 2? And how many people are going to remember the wide receiver 2 part of that equation? Or how many people are just going to remember the injury? I think most are just going to remember the injury. I think wide receiver 53, I think you get an absolute bargain there. Maybe he's a stash him and see. Maybe you pick him up late when people are scratching around for the sleepy superstar that may still be left on the board. Maybe you pick him up then and just see. Give it 3, 4, 5 weeks and just see what we're doing. See how many 2 receiver sets, 3 receiver sets we're playing. How much does the young rookie get a look in? Does McMillan and Shepard even touch the pitch? Just see. He's definitely a stash and say, do not start this bloke. But definitely stash and see.
No.
Yeah.
A player I am really, really excited. I've got kind of my players that I want to see what they bring to the league next year, either because of new situations or new systems, or obviously, as same as every season, the rookies. And Emeka Egbuka is a rookie that I loved in the pre-draft process. Went to the Bucs at 19. The short area quickness, the yards after the catch ability, such a clever runner as well. But I am all in on him dynasty, even though his best is probably a year or 2 in the future. All over dynasty. Redraft value is questionable in the short term. But the little red flags we've mentioned about Evans and Godwin are absolutely the indicators of why Egbuka could have a really high ceiling. We've said Evans is a very, very old man at 32 with those hamstring injuries. Godwin may be slow to start as well. And if Godwin's slow to start and Egbuka takes hold, he is going to maintain some of those targets as we get into the season. Being drafted at the minute around round 10 alongside Darnell Mooney, Michael Pittman, Jaden Higgins. In that band, the safer pick for me is Darnell Mooney. If you want nice, steady flex receiver numbers in your flex spot week in, week out, go for Darnell Mooney. If you want to take a swing and probably still get reasonably steady numbers, so probably slightly lower than Mooney, but have a chance at a player that could really emerge into a star and have a route towards that in year 1. Do I think it's likely to happen? Probably not. But it doesn't mean it's not possible. And he's certainly got well equipped to be able to do that. I think Egbuka is a ceiling pick at where he's going currently. And I'm really excited to see what he does. I suppose the downside is if he has a really good season, Evans or Godwin have probably disappointed a little bit. What are your thoughts on Egbuka? Are you looking forward to seeing him next season as well? Or do you think he's more of a future project?
Yeah, if you're scratching around for the Darnell Moonies of this world, you may as well take Egbuka. You may as well, because Mooney's going to sit on your bench all season, and eventually you're going to drop him for someone when you get desperate in the tight end position or something. So you may as well take a punt. That's kind of my view on rookies in general and drafting in general. Once you get past all the clear starters and those that are genuinely likely to play a part in your season, just pick rookies up and just hope. We've also got Tez Johnson as well, who you just don't know. Another duck, but you just don't know. People just didn't know about Bucky Irving, and look what happened. Sometimes it's worth a punt. And we've seen Darnell Mooney. We know what you get from him. You get a bench spot taken up. With all due respect to Darnell Mooney. Will he push out Evans and Godwin? As you say, that is one hell of an injury to Godwin. We're told that he's back and he's as good as he's ever been. But one bad twist on that and he's gone again. And Evans is going to be drawing his pension soon. He's getting his bus pass through the post. So yes, maybe a bit of young blood and a bit of speed. But then we saw McMillan come out with the season before. We saw Trey Palmer have enough of a role. He won me a couple of DraftKings days back in the days when you could do DraftKings. I shouldn't advertise them now, should I? But he won me a few weeks of that, and he'll pick up. He'll have a big week, and maybe he's going to be useful for the bye weeks and whatnot. But yeah, if you're taking punts on wide receiver 4s, pick him up. Why not? What's the harm?
I am going to push back on that disrespect of wide receiver 31 on last year, Darnell Mooney. I do.
But would you ever start him, Pestle? Would you start him?
Yeah. I did last year, week in, week out at flex.
Did you win any league?
Yeah, loads of them. In fact, all of them. Prove I didn't. Mooney had, have a quick look, he had 1, 2, 3 wide receiver 1 weeks. And I think that Mooney gives you those, you're going to have a couple of games that are outside the top 50. You're going to get a couple in the top 12. You're going to get lots around that 24 to 30, which from a flex, I'm happy with. But it depends how you want to go. And if you're going to properly take a swing, absolutely, I agree to go to Egbuka there, because I don't see Darnell Mooney holding down a place as a wide receiver 2 or above for the whole season. Egbuka, I can see a world where it might happen.
You might as well go for it. If you're not first, you're last. So you might as well go for it. And Mooney's never going to bring you first, with all due respect to Mooney. People will think I hate Darnell Mooney after this.
I know, your issue with Darnell Mooney is.
I don't know. Just woke up and chose violence against Darnell Mooney today. Yeah, take a chance.
We're going to mention Jalen McMillan, Sterling Shepard. I'll be honest, Sterling Shepard is on there just because I didn't want to do a whole page for Jalen McMillan, and I liked the symmetry. But I wanted to mention McMillan predominantly for those last 5 games of the season, all of which he got over 16 fantasy points and amassed 7 touchdowns in those last 5 games as well. And then the whole world mourned for Jalen McMillan's fantasy value when Egbuka was drafted. However, I'm not wishing injury upon Godwin or Evans, but once again, there is a world where that happens. And if that does, Jalen McMillan is a player we'll probably be talking about, even with Egbuka there. Sterling Shepard.
He becomes wide receiver 2 at least.
Yeah, Sterling Shepard, is there because I wanted some symmetry. I'm not really thinking about Sterling Shepard. Jalen McMillan, I think that's one where you need to be plugged in on what's emerging. If injuries happen, you want to get on McMillan quick. I imagine there could potentially be a Wednesday morning where people are spending a lot of fab on McMillan to see what happens. Is worth considering. I don't think you're drafting him, but I think it's worth keeping an eye on if you need to spend some fab at some point, if you are in a spot at wide receiver and there are any injuries for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
It depends on your league, to be honest. It depends on your lineup settings. It depends on how many people are in your league. Same with Egbuka. If you're in a larger league, then take the punt. If you're in a smaller league, maybe 6 to 8, then obviously maybe not. McMillan's one of them. Maybe he's a best ball, cheeky last round pickup just in case. And the same with Egbuka. I'd definitely be taking Egbuka in best ball because you just don't know. I think that goes for all the Bucs players, to be honest. Other than Irving, I'd take him in all the leagues, but certainly best ball leagues is where they're going to shine, because we like to just have one player randomly go off in a week and then disappear for a bit. And Trey Palmer was that 2 years ago. McMillan was that last year. But as you say, he flourished because of the injuries. And yes, we're an aging team. There is the chance. It's not like he's kind of like Sterling Shepard is there, and we may see him a little bit. He signed a 1-year extension, I believe, and that was before we drafted Egbuka. And he's there to be around, and he's going to be useful every now and again. McMillan isn't one of those. He's a player who will be part of the setup. He will be training just as hard and as fast as everyone else to try and earn himself a starting spot. Whether he's got the talent to do so, I don't know. But he proved the back end of last season that he can bring the goods when needed. So best ball, pick him up. Dynasty, perhaps not. Redraft, depends how big your league is.
We will finish off with Cade Otton. I think we've been fairly positive on the whole about our fantasy prospects from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cade Otton fits into the bracket with lots of tight ends for me, that as soon as you get below tight end 7, everyone's a streamer at that point. The drop-off is so stark there. The consistency goes. Cade Otton's inconsistency last year was one of the widest point spectrums I think we have at any position. His top score was 29.1, where he was tight end 1. His lowest score was minus 0.4, when he was tight end 54. And we had pretty much every iteration of scores in between there. His target share also varied between 2 targets and 11 targets. Before his injury in week 15, he was gradually becoming less involved as well. And that kind of coincided with McMillan starting to draw targets as well. But he did have a window between weeks 7 and 10 where he was on pace for 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns. I think that's the point where people start to be really confident that with Godwin out, Otton is going to be the one that's drawing the targets. Here's the new tight end for fantasy that we all want. It just seems too tough to call with inconsistent we've seen so far, with other elite pass catching options as well. For me, this year, Cade Otton will be a bit of a streaming play, possibly in your bye weeks when we have those tight end friendly matchups for fantasy. Where are you at on Cade Otton? Do you think is in for that bounce back this year, or do you agree that it's quite tough to call?
I think you nailed it on the head with your tight end reviews in general. If you're not picking one of the top 5, then let's be honest, you're getting a chancer either way. I like Cade, but he's fighting against Payne, Durham, Keith, Devon Culp, who he had a couple of decent games last season. But again, you factor injuries and whatnot into that. Pick him up because you need a tight end in your lineup. That is a reason to pick him up. And he's as good and as bad as every other tight end on that board that isn't in that top 5 or 6. He might get you 10 points. He might get you 20 points. He might get you absolutely naffle. But you can say that about pretty much every tight end. Love him as a bloke. Love him as a player. Love watching him. But I certainly wouldn't be reaching for Mr. Otton.
As we wrap things up then, Mark, what are your outlooks for the Buccaneers, not just for fantasy, but for this season in general? Are you feeling optimistic? I'm going to assume you are feeling optimistic. You're fairly optimistic as fans go, I think, in general.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic that we'll probably get beaten by the Lions in the playoffs. That seems to be our ceiling at the moment. I don't know. Who knows? Our division is the worst division in the whole of the sporting world, I think. It's just like, who's the least crap out of us? The Panthers, the Falcons, and the Saints. Luckily, it's been us recently. We'll probably win the division, if that's not too arrogant to say, but will we go much further? To go against what I said about Baker Mayfield earlier, it sometimes is too much of a maverick. He's too inconsistent. We desperately needed to draft a decent edge rush. We picked up 2 edges. We said going into this draft, to say the organization said they will pick best pick, which is how we ended up with a wide receiver in the first round, despite having Evans and Godwin. But then we did focus on cornerbacks and edges after that. And it all hinges on that, to be honest. We've been a typically decent defensive team up until sort of the last season, really. If we get that right, I think offensively, our weapons are fantastic. It's defensively where we fall off. And if we perfect that pass rush, perfect that edge rush, who knows? We might even get beaten by the Ravens in the championship game.
Here's hoping. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Mark. It's been a while since we've recorded, but it's always a pleasure having a chat with you. It's nice to have your first appearance in our new home as well. But for any new listeners, where can they seek you out if they want to hear some more content from yourself and your team?
So on YouTube, there is youtube.com, I assume, /Fat Lads Podcast. We're predominantly a Birmingham City Football Club podcast, Fat Lads Going Gold. We do a sort of offshoot show called Fat Lads in Shoulder Pads, which we would like to do consistently, but if we're honest, we don't. But yeah, come and find us. Once the season starts, we'll try and get a weekly show out for you. Fingers crossed.
Amazing. Well, we are massively looking forward to that, and say it's been a pleasure as always, Mark, and we look forward to having a chat with you maybe before the season and then in season as well, if we are fortunate to do so. But for now, we are about done. So go and check out any of our other 31 shows on all of the other NFL teams, and then stick around for the main season as well as we bring you our regular in-season content. But for now, that is all from me. It's all from Mark. So Malcolm,
thank you very much.
Take us.
You have been listening to Pestle and Ed of TH Fantasy Football. For more content, follow TH_fantasy_NFL on Instagram and Twitter.